Hey, what's guys, welcome back to the channel. On today's episode, we're going to be taking a long-term look at the cordless Zero Turn Ego 56-volt lithium-ion powered mower from Ego, okay? So Ego obviously is one of the first, I don't know if they're the first or one of the first, but they're one of the first companies that launched a zero-turn cordless battery-powered mower. And we thought we'd do a long-term review on this mower, mainly because we didn't really see too many long-term reviews on this mower so far, mainly because when we were looking at buying the mower, it just hasn't been out long enough yet, okay? And it's one of the most expensive tools we've purchased, right? And it's also probably gonna be one of the most expensive tools some people may think about purchasing. So, you know, is it worth the investment? That really is the question that you really want answered if you're about to buy this, okay? So if you're interested in buying a Ego Zero Turn or any cordless battery-powered mower, riding mower especially, you definitely want to check out what's in this video. But I am going to go ahead and tell you this video is going to be a little bit different than our normal videos, mainly because this is my 5th time trying to record this due to all kinds of issues with overheating footage, all kinds of fun stuff. So we're going to record this in a little bit different way where we talk over most of it and try to add in the clips of stuff that we're going to talk about. So if you really want to know, stick with us. All right, so let me go ahead and throw all this stuff out, okay? First of all, we did buy this mower with our own monies. We did buy it a few months after it was released and we were able to get our hands on it. And we're not affiliated with Lowe's or Ego or any of that in any way. They probably don't even know we exist. The point is, this is with our own monies and no one's paying us to make this video, okay? So let's go ahead and talk about this. Like I said, we bought this mower and when we bought it with the 410 amp hour option, I guess. There's other options and stuff like that you can get. We just bought it with that one because that's the one that we just thought needed, okay? So we bought it with that, and right now at this current time, I believe we have something around like 43 hours or something like that, runtime hours or whatever on this mower. It may not seem like a lot, but to us it's a lot, mainly because I'm not sure what accounts for that timer to keep ticking, but we do use the mower for a lot of stuff other than just mowing, okay? So we use it for yard work, pulling like a cart, what is it, like a John Deere 7P cart around, a wagon around, you know, mulching, just doing gardening, landscaping, all this fun stuff. And we also use it to pull a kid's chariot that's usually connected to a bike, but we connected it to the mower to, you know, sometimes just move around and go around, do stuff, and also pull it when they're trick-or-treating, mainly because kids cannot walk very long before they get really tired and want to be carried. And so we just did that, okay? So the point is, we have a good amount of usage with it, but we've also alternated with push motor and stuff like that. Sometimes we cut twice a week in the summer and stuff, you know, so all kinds of fun stuff. So with that being said, let's get into it, all right? So first of all, when we bought this mower, like I said, it came with 4 10 amp hour batteries. I will go ahead and tell you right now that one of the batteries is kind of having an issue, okay? I have not contacted Ego about warranting yet because I got to figure out if it's even in the warranty period right now, which is a different thing. But the 10 amp hour battery pack will charge, but it will, the light on the little LED screen will start blinking a little bit, kind of telling you that it's overheating. And it's always the one particular battery pack, no matter whichever slot you put it in, that seems to overheat quickly than all the other ones. So I want to say less than 10 minutes into it, one of them are already overheating. So that's going to be a problem, all right? So the reason I'm saying that's a problem is because when you buy this mower, right, it's somewhere going to be around $5 grand, right? And $5 grand, if you talk about the batteries at retail cost at $500 a piece, you're talking about like $2 grand of the purchase is the cost of the batteries, okay? So each 10 amp hour battery right now at the time of this recording, last time I looked it up, was about $500 for a 10 amp hour battery, okay? So that's kind of a lot, all right? So how many watt hours are really in there? People can argue nominal voltage and stuff like that, but we're not gonna talk about that because the important thing is how many times can you recharge this battery before you have to replace it? The short answer is nobody knows, okay? The real answer is nobody knows, all right? Mainly because this is a high risk battery. All of these batteries, this one is the 2.5 and this one's the 0.5, but you know, all of these batteries are what I would call high risk, okay? Mainly because they all use a design of 18 650 cells, and they use 14 of them in series to get somewhere around like 51.2 and like 56 volts max or something like that, right? Which is a problem mainly because if any single battery fails, in that 14 that are linked in series, you have a problem with the battery pack, okay? And the reason you have a problem with the battery pack is mainly because you kind of need all 14 of them to work in order for the battery pack to be good. What I kind of suspect the issue I have with one of the 10 amp hour batteries I have is at least one of the cells is bad, right? Mainly, meaning the capacity of that battery pack has been drastically reduced, because the way that these larger battery packs work is they have 14 batteries in series, and they have multiple sets of those batteries in series, okay? So when one battery fails, right, one cell fails, that entire parallel pack, or that series stack of cells that is parallel to the other ones is pretty much useless, okay? So it's a high risk thing. So the more batteries that you put in series, the more I would call it riskier investment it is, mainly because you're you're absolutely dependent on every cell working in there, okay? I'm not sure if that really made sense, but hopefully that kind of, you know, puts it more out there. There's just a way to think about it, okay? So, there's that, okay? So I'm gonna maybe try to contact them and try to figure out if they can get it replaced, or if it's even in the warranty period. We'll have to go ahead and see, okay? But I would say that's the biggest thing you really need to look out for, is because when you're buying a battery powered mower, the things that's most likely gonna break on there is either one, the computer, two, the battery, right? Because it just gets worn out, or three, you know, just miscellaneous stuff that, you know, nobody really thinks about using, okay? So the point is, the battery pack is good, or is probably the biggest thing you want to look out for, okay? And talking about the battery pack, I will say these are lithium ion battery packs and not necessarily lithium ion phosphate and all these, you know, newer chemistry of batteries, so just go ahead and take that. But the point is, you know, right now I am kind of, you know, I would say, what is it, like 4 years into it or whatnot, one $500 pack is kind of useless, okay? So that's something you definitely need to take into account, okay? So moving on from the power and all that stuff aside is, number two, I've run into this issue, and I don't even know what it's called or debugging and whatnot, but it's an error code that you get on the LED screen when the blades do not want to start up for whatever reason, okay? So blades, in my experience of using it, they will not want to start up for multiple reasons. One is you're trying to start it in too high grass and it just can't start. That's a problem with all motors. Like, no matter what kind of motor you have, gas or electric, it's all gonna have that problem, okay? That's just a you problem. You just got to fix it, okay? The other problem is I got an error code 607. I got it in two completely separate occasions, where I originally thought the mower itself was bugged or dead, and I need to go take it in for service, okay? It kind of, you know, worried me or freaked me out a little bit, mainly because this is not a cheap mower, okay? And to have these types of worries when you're invested pretty significantly into a mower is kind of concerning, mainly because if the blades on the lawnmower don't work, you can only really get so much use out of that mower, okay? So luckily for me, what I really did, and I don't know if this is how we fixed it or whatnot, is we still drove it, right? Moved to the side, blew out pretty much everything using a blower and compressed air, and then luckily for me, I was able to get it started back up with the blades engaged, okay? So that is something very interesting. I don't know what exactly happened, and I almost don't want to know, mainly because, you know, if it's like, hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it type of deal. But, you know, that's also something kind of worrisome, mainly because it is, I want to say, temperamental. You don't really know when it's going to happen, but it does happen, okay? And I think it's an issue that Eco definitely needs to fix, mainly because you need to depend on a mower. And if you're like making, I would say, your bread from this mower, then you definitely need these mowers to work, okay? So those are the two biggest issues I've had with the mower. Let's talk about some of the smaller things now, okay? So some of the smaller things, I wish the LED screen was, you know, somehow shielded or some way to actually use it when you're out in the sun, which is usually when most people use the mower, mainly because when the sun's glaring at it, you can't really see it, right? You can kind of get around it by doing this, or, you know, putting your hand over, driving, or putting it under shade or something like that. But, you know, when the sun's glaring at it, at least put it on an angle or something, right? There's that. The other thing I have with it is, for some reason, whatever reason, on my mower, on the left bar is always weaker, no matter what setting you have it on, than the right bar, okay? So if you have them both exactly the same, my mower will tend to turn right, okay? So I kind of have to adjust for that, and I've gotten used to it enough now that I kind of adjust for that. So I don't know what the deal with that is, but the Ego Service Center, at least for me, is nowhere near close to me, so I don't want to deal with this hassle of taking it all over there and all this kind of stuff. Ego really needs to send somebody out to go ahead and fix these issues on the mower, mainly because that's just how they should take care of the equipment that they make. All right, so anyways, the point is, let's go ahead and just chitter-chatting about stupid stuff now. All right, so now, those are the biggest issues I've really had with the mower. Let's talk about some of the pros, right? So obviously some of the pros, no gas, none of that stuff. You know, you just have to plug it in, charge, ready to go, okay? If you have a really big yard and you need to charge the batteries or recharge in the middle of your mowing session, then you're gonna have a problem, mainly because by the time you've drained the batteries are going to be warm, they're going to have to cool down, and then you're going to have to charge them, making pretty much your refueling time to be pretty long, okay? So if you are going to purchase this mower or any of the mowers that Ego makes, make sure you have enough battery capacity to get it done in one session, or you have enough batteries with enough chargers to be charging the ones that you are not using, such that you can, you know, get this one done and then put the fresh ones in and then keep going, right? So that's something to think about, okay? So the other things to think about is, because it is not gasoline powered, it is very quiet, okay? Almost everyone using, you know, gasoline driven zero turns have to use earmuffs or earplugs or whatnot. But with this, you can get around with not using it. I don't recommend it, but it's still significantly easier, mainly because sometimes you can actually hear more of what's going on around you and not necessarily about what is just drowning out the sound in your brains, right? So that's also something to think about. So this mower has a hitch pin or setup, whatever you want to call it, on the back, where you can put a hitch ball or other stuff to connect to it, which is useful on a mower, mainly because you can do other stuff with it. Like I mentioned earlier, we've used it to pull kids chariot, wagons. It's helped us do a bunch of stuff, right? Even remove shrubs and stuff like that, right? So that's been good, okay? It is very useful there. It also does have lights, okay? There's been many situations where I've been mowing and it's gotten dark really fast and the lights do become useful, okay? Yes, there are some videos I've said, you know, lights on this tool is pretty much stupid. I may have even said that on the video or not, but after using it enough, I would say it is pretty useful. The fact that there's a light that I feel like that's always on, then you can push a button that actually has more lights that illuminates what you're doing is pretty good, okay? So with that being said, let's go ahead and go back to what also is not so great is, and this is not an issue with this Ego specific mower, but pretty much all the zero turns, is that they pretty much have issues working on an incline or a hill, right? So if you're cutting parallel to the hill or the incline, you know, it tends to want to slip. What I've kind of gotten around you can work around that kind of stuff, right? Mainly because you can just go up the hill or down the hill and it's, you know, usually pretty fine. And that's usually how you get around some of that. But if you're getting into a lot of hilly areas or places that just aren't flat a lot, zero turn is probably not the best idea for you. But, you know, that's just take that with a grain of salt, okay? So in my lot, the steepest incline I think that I was able to find, I don't know what it converts to in grade, but I think it was somewhere close, like 14 or 15 degrees of an angle, which we'll have to figure out what grade that is. But the point is that when I'm mowing that part of the yard, it always wants to slip. right? So what I really have to do is when it gets to that point, I'll just change direction and just start mowing up and down instead of side to side. That's really something to deal with, but you know, that's just not an issue, like I said, issue with this mower, but pretty much all the mowers. But I personally think that it would help if the grip on the tires were better, or it just had a different wheel setup. Okay, so now let's stop tear chattering and let's get back to it. All right, so if you're interested in buying a zero turn mower, there are a lot more zero turn mowers on the market today than there used to be. Okay, so like I said, this is probably one of the first, if not the first, cordless lithium ion powered zero turn mower that hit the market. But now there's other mowers that hit the market from other brands and more from Ego. Okay, so my question to you, or maybe the question that you really want to think about, is Ego really the best one? I will go ahead and say, out of the other zero turn mowers that I've tried, battery powered zero turn mowers that I tried, I feel like, and this is just anecdotally, that the Ego zero turn mower definitely have a lot of power to them. I'm still kind of a little bit on the fence on their reliability, mainly due to my personal experience with the mower. I'm not sure if they've fixed or mediated those reliability concerns on the newer generation of mowers. Now they even have like the E-Drive or Steer Clear or whatever you want to call that stuff, you know, but you just got to use the bars and stick with it, right? So that's the biggest question, okay? My wish that I wish somebody, doesn't have to be Ego, but somebody in this universe would come up with is probably some way to take an Ego battery pack and then somehow hyper convert it into some really large battery pack, even if you have to mount the battery pack somewhere else on the mower to make it work, okay? Like one thing that I'm thinking about somehow trying to figure out how to do is somehow modify this battery pack and hook it up to one of the solar Life Power 4 batteries or whatnot, just to, you know, pretty much run all day with pretty much almost unlimited power compared to the batteries or the capacity in these packs to make that happen, okay? That would be great. Right now, I'm not gonna go ahead and do that because I do wanna figure out if we can get these batteries warranted, but it would be nice if somebody else had already gone and figured it out, all right? So let's go talk about some of the accessories now. So on my mower, I got the bagging accessory, and the bagging accessory, you know, is pretty much standard. It fits on the car with 2 pipes and 2 rails, and it's got 2 bags. It works generally pretty well. I've had 2 issues with it. And it may be just my personal issues. It's really more of, one is the capacity. The 2 bags are just not that big. I wish they were bigger, okay? And that may be a design due to how Ego wants how efficient the mowers to be or whatnot. But right now it's fall season and there's just oak leaves and maple leaves everywhere. So when I'm picking them up, you know, I want to say maybe 1 pass and 2 pass, like 1 full pass, 1 there and 1 back. The bag's already full with leaves, okay? In order for me to use that mower to actually vacuum up or mulch up in a way, it's really more vacuum up the leaves, it really has, I have to empty it, I want to feel like 20 times or somewhere around 20 times in order to actually make it useful. So sometimes what I like to do is I like to get out there with the shredder, the leaf shredder, and then shred the leaves as I'm going, mainly because it actually condenses a lot more of the space, okay? So, you know, this is something to deal with. Also, the other issue I've had with that is mainly that I believe the suction power on the attachment is just not as great as it needs to be. It works, okay? Don't get me wrong, it works. I just wish the suction power was greater. Mainly because even though you have the high suction blades or the blades that you use with the mulch or the bagging attachment, it still sometimes gets stuck or clogged, okay? And I'm talking about Bermuda grass that gets cut 2 times a week during summer. It still clogs up the chute, okay, sometimes. And I'm not even going maximum speed. So even just going, I wanna say somewhere around like 60 to 75% of its speed, it sometimes gets clogged up, and that just gets really annoying, right? That's not some type of thing that you really want from, you know, a mower that you paid to use, right? So the one good thing I would say about the bagging attachment is there's a little clear band that kind of goes around the entire pipe part of it that you can kind of see debris going by, and when I don't see it, I can know automatically that it's clogged. And usually it's clogged before that clear band, but it's nice that it's there. You know, that's one thing. Maybe they knew it was a problem and they'd say, hey, why don't we just give them visibility so that people can monitor that. Anyways, the point is, That's it, all right? So let's go ahead and close this out before I keep jibber-jabbering about pretty much everything, all right? So the point of this video is, if you're thinking about buying this mower, definitely consider it, and no, Zero Ego is not paying me to say any of this. Like I said, I told you the risk and my personal experiences with it, and I think there's some people that seem to be on some forums or whatever that have no problems with it, but I've definitely had its own share of problems with it, okay? But luckily for me, when I do have a problem with it, I'm able to somehow get around it, except for the battery problem. You know, that's really a problem that you can't get around. The battery, like I mentioned already, is already a high-risk battery because you need all 14 cells in series to actually work, okay? And speaking of that, the battery, I believe, or the mower on the battery compartment, I think it says it needs a minimum of 10 amp hours to work or something like that, or 10 or 15. I'll go ahead and look at it, which means you can't just use, like, you know, 4 of these 2 amp hour, 2.5 amp hour. I guess if it was 10, you could probably use 4, but you need pretty much a lot of capacity in order to run the mower, which makes sense. You know, it's a power-hungry machine. But the point is, the biggest question out there for the Ego mowers, I would say, is 2 things you really need answered. Is how long do the big battery packs last in terms of longevity, not runtime, longevity, and 2 is the reliability. So far, like I said, I have close to 40 something hours and it's still operating. Like the mower still works. It has quirks, but it works, okay? So would I go out and buy this again? Right now, at this current date, age, and time, probably not, because like I said, there's other mowers that are currently on the market. But back then, when you are looking at mowers, you can definitely, would probably be, you know, the one that I got, obviously. So I'm not saying I wouldn't go buy an Ego one again, but I would say, you know, just consider all the other options that are out there. So I'm sorry for jibber jabbering. Hope this video helped you guys out. If you have any other questions, let us know. Otherwise, have a great day and get back to work, and we'll see you guys next time.